Hi, welcome to the second video. So today's this topic today is history taking in ear diseases. So usual disease which you will get in for your exam is chronic otitis media. Usually mucosal disease or occasionally you will get ativanal disease. So what are the common symptoms with which a patient with ear disease comes to you? That is the symptomatology of ear diseases. A patient can come to you with earache, ear discharge, hearing loss, or itching in the ears, or maybe swelling around the ear, or patients can have vertigo, or tinnitus, ringing sound in the ear. So these are the usual causes, usual symptoms with which a patient can present to you with. Of these, chronic otitis media without complications, usually the patients have a ear discharge and a hearing loss. So when you take a history from a patient, first you will ask for the chief complaints. Usual chief complaints will be ear discharge and hearing loss. If there are some complications, the patient may also say about some earache or maybe swelling around the ear or some vertigo or some tinnitus. So we'll discuss each one by one with a little more detail on the ear discharge and hearing loss. So a patient tells you that I have ear discharge. So what are things you will think about or ask the patient? First of all, it is obvious the duration of illness and if it is from 1 year or both ears. These are the obvious questions. And how did it start, the onset? So the side, duration, onset. Did it start with like a flu, just like with a flu causing an acute otitis media with ear discharge? So did it start with a flu, or did it start with some water entering the ear or some trauma to the ear or something like that? So the onset, that is important. Then you have to ask about what is the type of discharge. So we should have a basic understanding on the types of discharge. The ear discharge can be watery ear discharge. Watery ear discharge you can get in external otitis. If a patient uses the earbuds all the time and constantly rubs his ear canal, a VP watery discharge can come. So one cause for watery ear discharge is otitis externa. Another cause is CSF otorrhea. CSF can leak through the ear in some conditions, post-trauma and all. That is a watery ear discharge. Second type of ear discharge is mucoid, then mucopurulent and purulent. So in chronic otitis media mucosal disease or the tuberculopanic disease, you usually get more of a mucoid type of discharge, which later on when it becomes infected becomes mucopurulent and then purulent. Whereas in a patient with aticoandral disease or a squamosal disease, you mostly get more of a purulent discharge because the discharge is from the infected sac, the cholesteatoma sac, where there are not much mucus cells or goblet cells. So you get a purulent discharge, which later when it affects the other parts of the ear, it becomes more of a mucoid. So purulent discharge, which later becomes a mucopurulent or mucoid discharge for aticoandral. For tuberculopanic, initially it starts with the mucosa in the middle ear, which has a lot of goblet cells and mucus cells. So initially it will be a mucoid discharge, just like the thick discharge which comes from the nose. Later on it becomes, as it gets more infected, it becomes purulent discharge. So mucoid, mucopurulent and purulent you get in chronic otitis media. Another type of discharge you get is blood-stained discharge. Blood-stained discharges, what are the causes for blood-stained discharge? Somebody will ask you. It can be trauma. It can be granulations breaking off in chronic otitis media. More commonly in squamosal than in tuberculopanic. In tuberculopanic also you can get blood-stained discharge from granulations, but less common. You can get from vascular tumors in the middle ear. Malignancies, malignant lesions or granulations which form in the middle ear, you can get, when they break off, you can get blood-stained discharge. So these are the causes for blood-stained discharge. Sometimes you can get blackish discharge, which is usually seen in otomycosis. Otomycosis is the fungal infection of the ear canal. So you can get a blackish discharge in that also. That is another type of discharge. So those are the types of discharge. Another point, you have to ask the patient whether the discharge is continuous or intermittent. Because continuous discharge is mostly seen in acute disease where it is infected. You give medicines, it will decrease a little bit, but still it can continue to discharge. Mucosal disease is more of an intermittent type, like some water enters the ear when the patient has cold, the patient discharges and then it becomes okay for some time till the next episode starts. That is continuous or intermittent. Another thing you have to ask is it foul smelling or not? Both chronic otitis media mucosal disease and tuberculous disease can have foul smell, but it is more common in aticoantral disease. Somebody may ask you, wow, what are the reasons for the foul smell in an aticoantral disease? The answer is you can get it from the anaerobic infection or the mixed flora infection. You can also get it from the bone erosion caused by the enzymes released by the cholesteatoma sac. Also, you can get foul smell from mucosal disease if it is really infected with the anaerobes and all. Another is it blood stained or not? I told you earlier, blood staining is more of a feature with aticoantral disease than with mucosal disease. So all these questions you have to ask. Then what are the aggravating factors? Like usual aggravating factors for a mucosal disease may be water entering the ear or having a flu. Relieving factors may be undergoing a ear suction or using some topical ear drops or some whatever the patient gets relieved of. So these are the history taking points in a patient with ear discharge. So basically we want to know from the history of the ear discharge, we want to get clues whether it is an aticoantral or a tuberculopanic type. So this entire history, so I forgot to tell earlier, the entire history you can divide it into three parts. One is describing the chief complaints. Second is negative history about the complications, which all complications are not there, and the negative history of predisposing causes for chronic otitis media. Now we are discussing the description of the chief complaints. So that was ear discharge. Second most common symptom with which patient presents is hearing loss. Also, you have to ask about the onset, the duration, whether it is one side or both sides, whether it is progressive. You know, the hearing loss is getting worse, or is it like stationary? Then sometimes whether it is fluctuant or not, fluctuating hearing loss or not. Fluctuating hearing loss causes, somebody may ask you, fluctuating hearing loss causes are, one is middle ear effusion, another is Meniere's disease, which is sensory neural, another is perilimb fistula. So these are few examples for fluctuating hearing loss. So you have to ask all these questions about hearing loss. Also, that is the chief complaint explanation. Next part of the history deals with is the negative history. That is to rule out the other causes which are related to complications of chronic otitis media. So we will go one by one. One is vertigo. When will you get vertigo in chronic otitis media? When the disease has somehow involved the labyrinth. Because the labyrinth has sacs which control the balance system. So if the infection spreads to the labyrinth, like a labyrinthitis or something, you can get vertigo. Sometimes it may be a small fistula into the labyrinth, which is called a labyrinthine fistula. In such cases, pressure over the tragus will elicit vertigo and nystagmus. So that is vertigo. You have to, about in the negative history, you have to rule out no history of nystagmus, no history of vertigo. Then tinnitus. Tinnitus happens when there is again an inner ear damage. Because how inner ear damage occurs in chronic otitis media? The bacterial toxins can diffuse through the round window, or even the topical antibiotics, some of which are ototoxic, they can diffuse through the round window into the inner ear and cause damage, inner ear damage, and it can cause hearing loss and tinnitus. So usually it will be non-pulsatile tinnitus which you get in chronic otitis media. Then you have to rule out any ear pain. Ear pain is not a chief complaint in chronic otitis media. Ear pain occurs only when there is a complication. So when do you get ear pain? If the patient uses earbuds constantly to remove the ear discharge, patient can get an external otitis. So that is one, external otitis. If there is some abscess formation, extradural abscess around the ear, there will be severe earache, which is characterized by the pain suddenly disappearing when there is a lot of discharge coming out. So it goes off in cycles. Extradural abscess, brain abscess. Patients can have swelling around the ear. There is another complication we have to rule out. Swelling around the ear, you can have swellings because of abscess formation around the ear. There are some named abscesses which you have to refer your book. One of which is called Bezold's abscess, which you see in the upper neck when the abscess goes and gets filled in the upper neck area. You have the Lux abscess inside the canal. You can get Citley's abscess in the occipital area. You can have zygomatic abscess, or you can even get post-auricular abscess. It is swelling around the ear. So no history of swelling around the ear. Then intracranial complications. You can have symptoms related to meningitis, fever, headache, projectile vomiting, seizure. In brain abscess, you can have seizure, and depending on the area which is involved, you can have CNS symptoms. So lateral sinus thrombosis. Lateral sinus thrombosis patients can have picket fence type of fever. You know, picket fence type of fever, the fever goes up and down but never touches the bottom. That is called, why it is called picket fence type of fever, which are caused by thromboembolic episodes because of the thrombosis in the lateral sinus. So those are the complications. So you have to rule out in the negative history. First part of the negative history, you have to rule out no history of vertigo, tinnitus, also facial palsy. How can chronic otitis media cause facial palsy? The granulations or cholesteatoma can go and erode the bone covering the facial canal, facial nerve, and it can erode the nerve and cause damage in its function. Like that, it can cause facial palsy also. So no history of vertigo, tinnitus, facial palsy, swelling around the ear, ear pain. Another thing I forgot to mention is Grudenigo syndrome. That is diplopia. Whenever a patient with chronic otitis media presents to you with diplopia, you have to think of Grudenigo syndrome. This chronic otitis media can go and affect the petrous apex area. In the petrous apex, in petrous apicitis, it can cause ear discharge, sixth nerve palsy, causing diplopia, and also it can irritate the trigeminal ganglion in the Meckel's cave, the Glaserian ganglion, and it can cause severe retroorbital pain. So retroorbital pain, diplopia, and ear discharge, which are features of Grudenigo syndrome seen in petrous apicitis. So rule out diplopia also, and it is a usually asked question also. What you will think when chronic otitis media presents to you with diplopia. So all these negative history related to the complications you have to rule out. So first part of the history you have described the chief complaints. Second part you have told about the negative history, no history of the complications. The third part of the history you will rule out any predisposing causes for chronic otitis media. As I told you in the last video, what are the predisposing causes for chronic otitis media? Here maybe sinusitis, allergic rhinitis, chronic adenoiditis. So you have to rule out all that. No history of chronic nasal blockage, no history of nasal discharge, snoring, mouth breathing, headache, all those things that are related to the predisposing causes you have to rule out in the third part of the history of present illness. So this completes the history of present illness. So that is history of present illness. The history of past illness, you have to ask whether this patient has any history of any similar diseases in the past, any surgeries patient has undergone for the ear, nose or throat, any history of any other diseases like diabetes, hypertension, bronchial asthma, the patient has any drug allergies, any bleeding disorders, because you may be planning surgery. In the personal history, you have to ask the patient about his occupation, because there are some occupations which can cause hearing loss, which can add on to many other ear diseases. So you have to definitely ask for any occupation in which there is a lot of sound exposure. any personal habits like smoking and alcohol which can cause hearing related issues, you have to ask. Also you have to in the family history is another important thing which you have to ask for any family history of hearing problems. One common disease which you find is autosclerosis. Autosclerosis runs in families. They are because of the newborn formation which fixes the stapes. So other congenital sensory neural hearing losses can also be genetic. Also some genetically some autoimmune diseases are seen. So you have to take a good family history also. Chronic otitis media is not entirely genetic, even though they are seen in families, because they are seen in more in lower socioeconomic status when there is a lot of overcrowding. So you can ask about similar problems in the family also. So that completes the history taking. Along with that, there are the regular things which you usually do in normal medical cases also. So that is the history taking for a ear disease. Next we will discuss examination of a ear. I also request you to please subscribe to my channel so that it inspires me to make more similar videos, and also press the notification icon so that you get notified when I release newer videos. Thank you.